Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Thursday, March the 5th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Matt Robinson. It's like the old days, Matt, Alex, and I on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're back to that routine once again here on the Ice Guys show, ready to break down the Thursday card. 8 games is actually a modest slate for a Thursday. Often on Thursday we get 10, 11 games, but we got 8 tonight. We thank everybody for joining us on the Patreon Live Betcast last night, all our great Patreon members that are signed up for $10 a month. We had some new signups again last night. We hope you enjoyed the Betcast. It was I know people were saying, you put this Betcast on a Wednesday night with just 2 early games, and the games aren't even that great. Well, even Toronto, New Jersey turned out to be pretty entertaining hockey game, and so was Vegas, Detroit. So we did have some entertaining hockey last night. Give Vegas credit, able to find a way to come back and win against the Detroit Red Wings. That being said, there's still some concerning signs. The early part of that game was pretty rough. Detroit took it to them. It was not a great goal that Aiden Hill allowed. He did not have a great period. The third goal in particular, you can't let that in right under the glove. Can't go in that shot by DeBrincat. But Detroit was the author of their own demise, in my opinion. Now, you can give Vegas some degree of credit for coming back and winning, but if you're Detroit, you can't sit back to that degree in the third period up 3-1. They basically let Vegas just roll 4 lines, enter the offensive zone with very little restriction, and just, let them just pummel away shots there at Cam Talbot. And eventually they got to 3-2, and then they were able to tie it right after that. I mean, you've got to at least, while protecting the lead, I get it. You've got to be careful of puck management and playing solid defensively as a team, but not at the expense of stopping your attack completely. And that is what we saw from the Detroit Red Wings last night. So like I said, they were kind of the author of their own demise. We did cash the over in that game, which was a play we mentioned on the show yesterday. We also had, I think on the Betcast, we took Vegas to win the third period going into it, which they did. But we also had both teams to score in the third period. That did not cash, so we split those two. But we did. It ended up profitable, though, because it was a nice plus price on Vegas to win the third period. So we did get that. We also had a first 10 minutes goal bet early in the night with Toronto, New Jersey, which was able to come through. So that was good to see. And speaking of that game, the Devils pretty much deserved the win. I mean, it took them until a shootout to beat the Leafs last night, 4-3. But really, the Leafs only got a point because of the performance of Stolarz. He was really good in net, 40 shots for the Leafs, or for the Devils rather, in that game, and New Jersey able to get the victory there, 4-3 in a shootout over Toronto. Back-to-back wins now for the Devils. Very disappointing from the Kraken. Seattle losing 3-2 to St. Louis. It continues to be, it hasn't been a great stretch of hockey coming out of the Olympic break for this team. That's now back-to-back weeks where the Blues, one of the worst teams in the NHL, beats the Seattle Kraken, a team trying to make the playoffs. So that's not what you want to see. But the Blues were opportunistic, and Robert Thomas comes through for us. How about a 2-0 bargain bin special of the night sweep for me on the show yesterday? And one of them was Robert Thomas. I was stunned that price was plus 340 on him at some books to score last night. I was actually just as surprised he played. I thought they'd do the put him in bubble wrap and keep him out of the lineup, knowing he might get traded. But he did play in that game last night for the Blues and got on the board and cashed us a bargain bin special. 36-27 were the shots for Seattle. Joel Hofer was very solid in net, especially late when the Kraken were trying to tie it. But a bad loss for Seattle, and they've had a few of these lately. St. Louis beats them again 3-2. Tough beat if you had the over. That one just barely stays under the total. Carolina, Vancouver. My goodness, this was not as easy as you would have thought for Carolina, but goes back to my point in why I don't love always betting puck lines anymore. Because if you think the team's going to win by margin, there's usually a good chance they're going to score 4 goals. Why not just go with the team total instead? If you bet the Carolina team total over 3.5 like I did, you didn't sweat one bit. It was as easy as it gets. But if you had Carolina puck line, holy shit, that turned into one hell of a sweat late once Vancouver cut that lead to 5-4. But eventually Carolina put it away into the empty net. And like I said, not pretty. But sometimes, when you're playing a lousy team like Vancouver, you're going to have lulls. You're going to have lapses where you kind of, take your foot off the gas pedal. I think Carolina was kind of guilty of that at times, but they do get the victory last night over the Vancouver Canucks by a score of 6-4. Lankinen got pulled after the fourth goal, and Tolopilo came in and finished the game after that. And then in the late night hours, we knew Anaheim was in a tricky spot on the back-to-back, and they played a lot of hockey. But I said, this team has got some mettle to them, some mental toughness. They've been very good at responding to really bad games that go south on them. And certainly the Colorado game went south on Anaheim. And boy, did they bounce back last night, 5-1 over the New York Islanders. Our second bargain bin with Anders Lee, who got the only goal for the New York Islanders, cashes for us. Now, Ville Husso, we got to tip our cap. Unbelievable performance. And so much for Rusty. He was outstanding. He hadn't started since January, but what a performance last night. Islanders had their chances. They lost 5-1, and it's a tough beat for me with the best bet on the over. That's about the only thing that went bad last night was that total falling short. But they had 43 shots. Husso turned aside 42 of them. He was very good in net. They had chances, just the puck wasn't going in for the New York Islanders last night. Sometimes you need great goaltending, and Anaheim got it from a guy that hadn't played in a very long time. So Ville Husso, outstanding job, and a nice bounce back from the loss to Colorado for the Anaheim Ducks, 5-1. And with Vegas coming back to beat Detroit last night, a very important 2 points for the Anaheim Ducks to keep pace with Vegas and remain just 1 point behind them in the chase for top spot in the Pacific Division, which now matters a lot to this guy who now has a plus 450 ticket on the Anaheim Ducks to win the Pacific Division in hand. Alex, your thoughts on last night and a great betcast, and your thoughts on the games?
Yeah, a lot of fun with the betcast. Like I said, even with two games that didn't look like they were going to be great on paper, they turned out to be a lot of fun. We got both of them past regulation. It was nice to catch. Actually, I kind of stayed off of that Vegas Detroit game, other than looking at that first period over, but opened up the door for me to get Vegas live with some great spots late. You just see that momentum. Like I said, we talk about it all the time in multiple sports. When you start playing prevent defense, you're just preventing yourself from locking down a win, and that's exactly what the Red Wings did. You can't just lay back on, especially with a team like Vegas, a team that had been hungry, that had been kind of up and down on this road trip, but playing well in third periods. We talked about it throughout the vetcast, the best third period team in the league. And to play back on your heels like that, especially when you had Talbot in net, who all his goals looked to be sloppy. This is unfortunate for a Red Wings team that had been looking really good, right in the mix of that Atlantic Division race, to now lose Gibson, and now you have to rely on Talbot. And those are the kind of games you're going to get with Cameron Talbot when you're talking about the second half of the season and making a playoff push. And you do have a young kid in Sebastian Cossa, who we were talking about last night. It's probably the best player in the American League for sure, with the numbers that he has. You wonder, you give this kid some starts and maybe he gets hot. We've seen rookie goalies getting these spots, be it injury or otherwise, as a goalie, and take a team on a run. Maybe that it's now the time for Cossa in Detroit, because like I said, you're going to have more tough losses with Talbot moving forward, in my opinion, if you keep rolling him out on a nightly basis, especially as condensed as things are. Looking at that game with Anaheim and the Isles, thought that would be a closer battle, but Anaheim, give them credit. A night after playing a tough Colorado game, having your home streak snap, could have been easy to kind of roll into this one and then kind of a snooze fest with an Isles team cross conference. We liked a little bit of the draw, but they came out hot and heavy and played their game and got a nice win. And like I said, Ville Husso coming through and giving that team a much needed win. He said another area with question marks in goal when you don't have Dostal in net. You worry about the Ducks, but if he can give you some games like that, give you some big saves and help you win, that's going to be huge. Like I said, with that team now looking at an open division race, we're going to, of course, talk about trades being made, and we're seeing teams now kind of, realizing their fate as far as some of those wild card teams at the bottom, most notably Nashville, with the statement that they've kind of come out with over the last couple of hours. It'll be interesting to see now where these teams that are still in the race, what moves they make and how they feel about moving for a team like a San Jose, now firmly in that race. Of course, LA already making some moves, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of things going on. I'm sure we'll be updating you with any breaking news that comes in during the show today, and of course getting ready for the actual deadline tomorrow.
Yeah, no question about it. Appreciate the kind words, Benji. Yeah, I mean, it's not just hockey. Basketball was, phenomenal for me yesterday on Fuego. Great day in NBA. College basketball especially. Whew, it's a phenomenal day. Just what we want. We want to be hot in March. The worst thing you can be in my business when everyone's clamoring for college basketball picks and signing up and subscribing to handicappers for college basketball is you to be fucking being shit at college basketball at this time of year. It's the worst thing it could be. So to have a night like last night in college basketball was great. So appreciate that, Benji. Matt, your thoughts on what we saw last night?
Overall, pretty good night. Didn't catch a ton of the early action, but did jump into some of the quote unquote later games. I know I'm Pacific time, so the later games were 7 and 7:30, but that's what I got to watch a little bit more. I did have a parlay out yesterday that did cash for me. So it was a 6-legger. So it involved 4 of the games overs. I had Carolina over 3.5 in there. I bought down a lot of the games to 5 and 5.5, depending on the game. So those 2, 4, 3 games were easy hits for me in the early slate. So kind of was just I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch all night. So I just kind of threw low money, but a nice 6-legger that ended up being overall plus 648. And so that did come in cash. So
oh, wow,
nice little night. That Carolina Vancouver game, I mean, it was crazy. You watched, the first 5 minutes, you would have thought Carolina was going to win 6-0, and then all of a sudden it was 1-1, and then it was 2-1 Vancouver. But I honestly didn't mind it after the first. I think it kind of woke Carolina up. They obviously came out pretty hot in the second, scoring 4 straight goals. So got themselves back in control. Got me over the over 5, got me over the team total over. So always a solid game. I mean, I know you guys have mentioned it every day, but it's kind of a nice point in the year where you really can get some good betting angles. Like, you got a team like Vancouver that already is struggling. They have the Tyler Myers trade yesterday. Their defense is depleted. You can find these spots with teams, Carolina, if you take an alternate team total at 4.5, it's a little risky during the normal parts of the year, but Vancouver's a team that's given up 5, 6, 7 goals every night. So you can find little angles at this point. I think, you get teams. Dallas is a great example. They're kind of playing like they're ready for the playoffs. It's a little different intensity than maybe 2, 3 months ago. So there are angles. There's teams still fighting for their lives in the wild card. There's teams that are selling and kind of packing it in. So it kind of reminds me of early college football. But just because it's the NHL, because it's hockey, you get a little better lines. When Alabama plays Southern Florida A&M and it's 44-point favorites, it's not as exciting. But in hockey, you can have a team win, 5-1, and it might be plus money to take them on the puck line, but you feel good about, a big win. So I'm enjoying it. I mean, I've been pretty hot since the beginning of the Olympics from a hockey perspective, because the Olympics were kind of the same boat. You get a U.S. team playing Italy, even if the overs or the spread's 4.5, you feel pretty good that they're going to win by 6 or 7 goals. So good time. And then we'll get to the playoffs, and then it's fucking hard to bet because any team can win on any night. It's a little tighter game.
Different handicap playoffs. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I shouldn't say it's way harder. There's just different ways of looking at it. You're not really expecting a 5-1 game in the playoffs.
You got to be willing to diversify your portfolio. If you're going to just pigeonhole yourself to full game money line and full game total in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that's not the way to go about it. And that's the nice thing is that in the regular season now, even I've opened up the playbook to team totals, period bets, all kinds of different ways to go about it throughout the rather than just your strict full game is tricky, but you can find great angles with period bets and other ways in the playoffs, and that's where you can really give yourself a better chance, more positive expectation.
You look at a prop like block shots. Like I've never bet a block shot prop. I know Perlo is a big prop guy, and I'm sure he has shot block props every single night. But come playoff time, you get a guy like Essa Lindell, a Chris Tanev, you can cash in on some props like that because those guys are trying to eat every puck they can. So, yeah, definitely just a little bit different way of handicapping. But these next, we'll say 3-4 weeks, I think you'll have a lot of great looks because you'll get teams in totally different mindsets, and
Yeah.
the books do adjust to the best of their ability. But in the NHL, they're never going to have a -2.5, -3.5 in an NHL game. So there is, oftentimes you get a team that's in the right form and a team that's ready for, summer vacation, and you might be able to grab a team total, grab a puck line, alternate lines, things like that. So.
And the beauty of betting now in 2026 in March and April, we're getting all of these markets that have been open all year long. We've been talking about things like first goal, first period. You've heard us talk about this
There
ad
you go.
nauseum throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
That started off last year as something only available during the playoffs. You go back throughout the different years, there's a lot of things that you hear us talk about during the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you hear us continue to talk about it into that next season and years going because the books debut things and they try new things during the playoffs. So now that we have that database throughout the whole season, like I said, we're not just jumping in all of a sudden. Sure, if we discover new things that are popping up from the books during the playoffs, we will, look to attack those markets. But these markets that we've now established 2-3 years running, we have a database and have a way to attack those in the playoffs. So it's not coming at us, completely out of the blue. We have a game plan that involves, like I said, not just betting sides and totals, but looking at certain props, looking at how games break down, taking the last 10, 15 games of what we've seen from these teams that were already going to the playoffs or had to rush into the playoffs and making those adjustments according to those numbers and markets available.
Yeah, exactly. You just look if you're Patreon members, you look at the daily NHL betting card that we post there of our plays on a daily basis. It's how many of them are team totals and first goal, first period, draw bets, first period team totals, which you'll see on occasion. But the team totals especially have become such a big staple for me. Like Carolina is a perfect example. You're also putting yourself in a better spot to just have a much more relaxing time of watching that game if he had taken Carolina team total over instead of puck line, where 5-4 you're sweating it out and you're just praying for the empty net goal in the last few seconds, where if you had the team total over, you're a winner a long time ago. So that's another example of why when I like a bigger favorite, team total's the route for me 99% of the time, as opposed to the puck line. No question. And baseball, they're good too. I agree, Benji. Baseball team totals, and baseball's coming up. Yeah, team totals are definitely something I look at with those as well. All right, speaking of looking at things, it's time to look at the Thursday NHL card. We'll begin with the toilet bowl of the night. Toronto Maple Leafs, New York Rangers. New York -130, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I think over 5.5. I bet small, -130. This is just your old late season philosophy, right? Leafs now, no, playoffs aren't happening. We already saw Nick Watt traded to Colorado. And by the way, heck of a return in that trade. First round and a fifth round pick for the Leafs for a guy that hasn't even had his best season. Nicholas Watt. Shows you Colorado really wanted to solidify that depth center position to part ways with a first and a fifth for Nick Watt. So well done by Toronto to get a decent return on that. But he's obviously been traded. Looks like Bobby McMahon, Oliver Ekman-Larsson are going to be held out once again of this game tonight. Not surprised because they sat last night. Figured they would once again here tonight. But who's playing defense for these two teams? They're not going anywhere. The Leafs are giving up tons of shots, tons of chances on a nightly basis. We even saw New Jersey get 3 goals in regulation against them. Philadelphia, had good offensive chances. Ottawa lit them up. Florida and Tampa lit up Toronto as well. So the Rangers, believe it or not, with obviously seeing them trade away Artemi Panarin, obviously that is a situation where that's going to hurt you offensively. No question about that. And there are concerns about where you're going to go here for offensive depth. JT Miller's now been shut down on IR. But Gabe Perreault stepped up with 2 goals against Columbus the other night. Zibanejad, you still have some options there, and they were able to get offense going against Columbus. They should be able to here tonight. Igor Shesterkin in net for the Rangers. We expect Joseph Woll here for Toronto on a back-to-back. The Rangers, like I said, should be able to chip in some goals, even though we know at home they've had their issues scoring, but they did show some life offensively against Columbus in that near comeback the other night. I think Toronto can probably find the back of the net as well against this porous Rangers defense. One concern with the over would be Shesterkin, right? Off a game where he gave up some goals against Columbus and lost, as he bounced back and put up a brick wall. He could, but he's got that weaker blue line in front of him, and that's been the issue. It's not so much Shesterkin, it's been the guys in front of him for this Rangers team as far as defensive issues. So I still like it at 5.5 over the total. I don't expect. Speaking of block shots, who's blocking a shot here? Two teams going nowhere. So who's got the desire to block a shot? So over 5.5. And you know what I also like? Give me the draw. We've got two teams here that I don't know if either team's good enough to pull away from the other. Rangers have gone past regulation and back-to-back games against Pittsburgh and Columbus. How about Toronto and the run of overtime games for them suddenly? Philly and New Jersey, back-to-back games have gone past regulation for the Leafs this week against the Flyers and the Devils. So I think the draw is definitely live here, plus 320. Alex, anything here? Toilet bowl, as I call it. Leafs, Rangers.
Yeah, this definitely has the feel of, and something you probably hear us saying from now until the end of the regular season, where games they just roll the puck out and get some offense going, and that could be the case. And even with guys being sat for the Leafs, like you're saying, McMahon and other guys who may be traded, okay, that opens up the cupboard for now some of these guys from the Marlies to get called up and show what they can do and see that, hey, we belong in this franchise, we belong in this team, maybe we can make an impact next year and beyond. So that's something you'll see with a lot of these teams that are kind of fading out into the end of the year. And I am on the first period over pregame. I got minus 116 with that. I'm going to wait for that $1.30 to drop a little bit with that full game over 5.5, but I will be on over by fact at some point. And I do have a little piece of the draw, plus 322, best price available. I found that offshore at BetOnline.
There we go. Yeah, I think the draw. I mean, back-to-back overtime games for both, back-to-back overtime / shootout games for both of these teams. So we've got a lot of evidence recently of these teams going beyond 60. So I think we've got the chance for that here once again tonight. Matty, Rob, what do you think here? Leafs Rangers.
Yeah, I like the over by fecta as well. I considered maybe parlaying them together, but typically I won't do that if it's 1.5, 5.5. So I might just leave it as is. I might wait a couple minutes for that total. May tune in, throw the game on at 4:07 my time, and then see if we can wait 2 or 3 minutes. And to Alex's point, get maybe a minus 110 and even money on that over 5.5. But I agree. Two teams kind of just going through the motions. It'll be, if it's anything like the Leafs game last night, then it should be an entertaining game. Sometimes when you get teams that are sort of out of it, you get a little more men's league style, but as a fan, you get a lot of action going both ways. So we'll see if that happens. I am going to take a small shot on the Leafs plus 110. It's less, the Leafs are unreal or anything at the moment. I was impressed by the way they played last night. I thought, they had stretches of good hockey. And obviously could have won that game going into a shootout. So I'm going to take a shot with the Leafs, but it's less about the Leafs and more I'm just going to fade New York at home until they prove me otherwise. They've been so bad at home. You're giving me a plus price. The Leafs, standings wise, are not having a great season, but they're still they still have players on that team. They're still a decent team. So unless New York is hosting maybe like a Vancouver, that game I'd probably just stay away from. But I give the Leafs credit. They've been a playoff team. This just wasn't their year, but they've got some good players in that roster. So give me a shot with the Leafs here, plus 110.
Yeah, I mean, I would lean slightly to the Leafs. I mean, I can't lay a price with the Rangers at home. No way. No way, no how. How many times have they been a home favorite lately? Very rarely. I think this is the first time I've seen them laying a price at home in a long, long time. So, yeah, there's no way I could lay it with the Rangers. I'm not excited enough to take Toronto to bet it, but I understand why people might want to back the Leafs. But for me, just the over and the draw. There are some props I like in this game, quite a bit, actually. You look at Toronto's lineup. I assume it's going to stay this way. They put Easton Cowan with Austin Matthews and William Nylander. I think Easton Cowan's worth a bet as long as he stays up on that top line. He's going to get plus 540 at Patano for him to score. I mean, that's a great price, win or lose. That's a great price on the Cowboy. Easton Cowan on the top line. Nyes scored last night against Jersey. There's probably, you can look to him on the second line for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. It looks like Jacob Quillen is going to enter the lineup, called up from the Marlies on the fourth line here tonight. And it looks like Riley Carlo, McCabe Stetcher, Benoit Myers still on the blue line for this team. I'm going to go with a couple of Rangers that I like. One is Taylor Radish. He's now on the second line with Trocheck and Lafreniere, and he's started to pick things up offensively lately, Taylor Radish. And the other is Gabe Perreault. Actually, Will Cooley's not a bad option, too, because Cooley's on the top line now with Zibanejad. So Cooley and Perreault, both of them for the Rangers on the top line. Perreault is plus 330, and Will Cooley for the New York Rangers on the top line, plus 340. So a couple of good value-laden props. So there's a lot of good props here that I think have value. Cooley, Radish, and Gabe Perreault for the Rangers. Cowan, Nyes, specifically for the Toronto Maple Leafs here. All right, next up, Florida, Columbus. Minus 110 even money, both sides, 6.5 the total. Give me the Jackets here. I think it's over for Florida. Stick a fork in them syndrome. They're done for the Florida Panthers. When you have your season at stake, hanging in the balance against a weak New Jersey team, you're down in the game going into the third period. You got to muster up a rally to come back and win that. And what I see from you instead is getting outshot 12-2 in the third period by the New Jersey Devils. It tells me all I need to know. There's nothing left in the tank for this team. Nothing at all to me. I mean, you just see they just couldn't overcome all the hockey they've played, the injury setbacks, losing Barkov for the season, and now looking back on how much weaker their defense has been. And I think part of the reason Bobrovsky's had a tough season is because you're missing one of the best shutdown defensive players and two-way players in the league when you're talking about Alexander Barkov. So I think it's a tough ask now for Florida to keep finding that inspiration on a nightly basis, especially when you're playing a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are desperate, just trying to stay in the race, and they are still in the race, but they've got to keep their pedal to the metal and keep winning games to give themselves a chance. My only little fear here is oftentimes when a goalie starts against his former team, he plays over crazy good, and that's my one concern, because Florida's opting to go with Daniil Tarasov tonight, who started with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, yeah, I'm sure he'll be fired up to play his old team. Maybe he has one hell of a game. He is capable of it on occasion, but you get a lot of inconsistency and up and down and erratic game-to-game performances from Daniil Tarasov. It's not enough for me to keep me off the Columbus side. I'm on them here. Jackets minus 110. Jet Greaves in net, and Jet Greaves been really good lately for the Blue Jackets. I thought he played a pretty good game against Nashville on the back-to-back, that win they had the other night. So give me Columbus here, minus 110. Alex, Panthers, Blue Jackets.
This is a wait-and-see game for me live. I mean, I get what you're saying. Florida looks to be, their playoff hopes are all but done. But the way that they've played against Columbus, like I said, Tarasov and net, maybe they've kind of shifted their mindset. Hey, all right, we're not going to defend our cup. We're not making it back to playoffs. Still no reason why we can't give up on the rest of the season, maybe play spoiler for some other teams. And a team like Columbus, right there on the doorstep of the wild card race, maybe that fires them up a bit. They've played them well, albeit the last two meetings have gone past regulation, but it's been a one-sided series with Florida. So I want to wait and see in this one. Maybe Florida gets jazzed up for this one, like I said, especially playing for Tarasov. Maybe he has some good saves early and they can ride that momentum, or it just looks like they fall apart and you just kind of name your price with Columbus. But either way, I think the end game will be the way to attack this one.
By the way, we have a couple of blue liners game time decisions for Columbus. Not only Zach Werenski, who missed the game against the Predators and the Rangers, but Dante Fabro as well, who has his game time decision as well for the Columbus Blue Jackets. But yes, Tarasov. Yeah, I'm standing directly against. I'm going right up against a 9-0 run for the Florida Panthers head to head against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Florida's won 9 straight over Columbus. I know I'm going against that, but if there's ever a time to do it, I think it's tonight with the state of where these teams are at right now. Maddie, what do you think here? Florida, Columbus.
I'm on Columbus here. I'm going to split it up between the money line and the team total over 3.5. I see it like at plus 120, plus 115. You mentioned, so Florida in 2 of their last 3 games has given up 5 goals. The other game they gave up 3. But with Tarasov, 2 of his last 3, he's given up 5 goals as well. So it just seems like a spot Florida kind of is in the dog days of the season. Maybe starting to sense that the season's over, creeping in. I know we as bettors and fans feel very confident that they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Until you see that eliminated sign next to your name as a professional athlete, you're still going to give a shit and, have hope. But, they also are adults that understand the realism and the reality of the likelihood of them, making it would take more than just them winning, a large percentage of these games left over. They would need a shit ton of help too. So it just doesn't seem feasible. So Columbus still kind of gunning for it. They're at home. I feel like Florida, if they look like they have lately, I think Columbus scores 4 goals in this one, and gets it done. So don't really have a big, strong feel for the over or anything, especially given how Florida's looked. Maybe this is a 4-1 game, and we stay under. So, yeah, I'll just keep it simple here. Columbus money line, Columbus team total split up.
Props, Fantilli, Coyle, Monahan for Columbus. Fantilli, 4 straight games he scored. Monahan, 2 straight games he scored. And, of course, Coyle, after we used him as a bargain bin on his birthday, he comes back against Nashville and scores. Of course he did. But we'll go back to Charlie Coyle. And then for Florida, I'd take the guy that Alex cashed a bargain bin with in a Florida game earlier this week, Anton Lundell. He's still centering that top line for the Florida Panthers right now. Kuhlman Lusterinen with him on that top line, along with Sammy Reinhart. So Lundell, I think, is a goal prop. If you're my favorite one on the Florida side, definitely would be Anton Lundell. All right, Utah, Philadelphia. Utah minus 130 road favorites, 5.5 the total here. Draw, love it. East versus West. I think we're going to get probably a good chance for overtime. Plus 320, same price as what I got for the Leafs and the Rangers. Draw that I mentioned earlier. From a side, it's tricky. I don't want to trust. Now, look, Ville Husso, I said the same thing yesterday. He was rusty, he hadn't played in a while, and he stands on his head. He's marvelous for the Ducks last night. 41 saves to beat the Islanders. Maybe that's Vitek Vanacek tonight, but still, Vitek Vanacek has not played in a very long time for the Utah Mammoth. We're talking late January. It's his first start in a very long time. Who knows what he's going to be like? Meanwhile, Dan Vladar in net for Philadelphia. He's been excellent lately for this Flyers team. So I kind of think I like Utah a little bit more as a team right now. But their road record is still not very good. Yes, they beat Washington on the road to start this trip, but that was coming off Andre Tourigny reaming them out for that performance against Chicago over the weekend. That's, to me, I think you credit the win more to that than, Utah's figured out how to win on the road. No. You know what will tell me Utah's figured out how to win on the road? Go do it again tonight. When your coach didn't have to kick you in the ass going into the game, which he did, after the Chicago loss. That's what inspired Utah and got them to play, crazy good on that in the first game of that road trip against Washington. Show me you can do it again tonight without the coach, ripping you following a bad game, because now you're off a good game. And now the coach is going to back off and be happy about your performance. So that's what's going to keep me off. Plus, Vanacek is a bit of a mystery, in my opinion, what you're going to get from him. This could be a good live betting game if you're watching the game. Watch Vanacek in the net. Is he controlling his rebounds? Is his movement in between the pipes good, solid? Is he tracking the puck well? If he is, then maybe I'm more interested in maybe a live look at Utah, but I got to see it first. And to be honest, Philly's got a little momentum. They beat Boston and Toronto, back-to-back wins for them. They're trying to hold on to their faint playoff hopes, and Vladar's been good enough lately, really good, that I'm not that excited to fade the Flyers here in this particular spot. So it's just the draw for me here pregame. Alex, what do you think? Utah, Philly?
Yeah, I grabbed a little piece of draw too. Not the best price, plus 307, plus 310. So shop around, try and get anything north of plus 300. But I did take a shot with Utah to win in overtime or shootout, plus 550. I'd rather back that than try and lay one. See, minus 122 is the best money line price available, but still no reason to lay that. You can even wait in game. Maybe the Flyers get a lead and you can grab Utah at plus money just for a regular old money line. But I feel like Utah could win this game, but it won't be an easy battle for them. Vitek Vanacek, his numbers against Philly, not that great. 0-3-2 with a 3 exactly 3 goals against average, 898 save percentage. So he has struggled in 6 appearances against Philly in his career.
You know what's funny is his numbers aren't terrible. Like he's got a 2.93 goals against, 894 save percentage. It's not great, but it's not awful. But the win-loss record is 3-9. 3-9 for Vitek Vanacek this year with Utah. So they just haven't been winning games all that often with him in between the pipes. Yeah, no Uyghur yet. Uyghur will not make his Utah Mammoth debut, it looks like, tonight. But Mikhail Sergachev for the Utah Mammoth game time decision for them tonight. So a couple of things to be aware of. It looks like Travis Konechny once again out for the Flyers. They were hoping maybe he'd be back tonight, but no Travis Konechny once again for Philadelphia. Nick Seeler on the blue line also ruled out. Matt, what do you think here? Mammoth Flyers.
I don't know. I think this might be a pregame pass for me of the 8 games. You've got both teams coming off a win. Flyers have been off since Monday. I just feel, I'd probably just straight up on paper lean Utah a little bit, but I think if you flip the prices, maybe I'd take a shot with Utah plus 110. But I don't know. I really think this game could be a toss up. I think, both teams this isn't a game where one of the teams is out of it and it's, pretty obvious one way or the other. So I think Philly can definitely win this game at home. I think obviously, anyone looking at the odds, the value would probably be on Philly if you think it's a toss-up game. But I think for me, we've got an 8-game card. There's other games I like a little more. Some of the ones we've already gone through, I like a little more. So it'll probably just be a pass for me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. As far as for me with goal props, I mean, if I were to look at someone for Utah, it would be Gunther. It would be Krause again for the Mammoth. And like I said, we'll see how that goes. One thing I want to mention too with this game, as far as the situation here, the under makes sense. It does. I could see that because Philly doesn't want to play overs. Philly's been playing a slower pace. They've played some unders. The Boston game, the Toronto game. My only concern is Vanacek. If he blows up, it could send. But the Philly, it takes them so much to score. Like they have to generate so many chances, it seems, before they finally put the puck in the net. So, that's what you've got going for you if you like the full game under. Maybe even with Vanacek concern about him being rusty, that it could still be a challenge for Philly to light up the scoreboard tonight. So, and I don't think Utah is going to light it up against Vladar with the form he's in right now. So I definitely would lean under as far as the total here. 7 straight unders, says Jonathan, for Philadelphia. All right, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. This is your ESPN game tonight. ESPN doubleheader. This is the first game with Shuzins calling this one of my favorites. Buffalo minus 115 road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I mean, I'm on Buffalo here. I mean, I get it that they're coming off a big win against Vegas. Jack Eichel back in town. Big victory for them. That maybe they're a little, flat. I don't think you should be. They have not looked like a team that's been flat for a very long time. And if anything, I think you should be motivated because Buffalo hasn't lost, I believe it is, since the game that they lost before the break to who? Before the break to who? This team, the Pittsburgh Penguins. And it was not a good game that night for the Buffalo Sabres. They lost 5-2 at home to Pittsburgh right before the Olympic break. And this sets up a little bit of a, exact some revenge spot here for the Buffalo Sabres tonight against this same Pittsburgh team. Now, the one thing that's concerning to me, and I said I bet against Pittsburgh. We had Boston best bet winner against Pittsburgh on Tuesday, 2-1. I said the Penguins offense is going to cool off. At some point you're going to realize, whoa, Sidney Crosby's not in, that, we're going to miss him at some point. And the Boston game, it certainly did appear that way. But like I said, Buffalo's won 4 in a row. They haven't lost since this Pittsburgh team beat them in Buffalo right before the Olympic break. I think Sabres remember that in the back of their minds. Now, Artur Shilovs is in net for Pittsburgh. He has been terrific lately. That's the biggest fear I have of backing Buffalo is that Shilovs is 5-1. He's given up, I think, 2 goals or less in all 5 games that he won. He's been very, very solid in net for the Penguins. He's been better than Skinner lately, quite honestly, of the 2 Pittsburgh Penguins goalies. So I'm a little worried about that. But UPL, who's going to start tonight for the Sabres, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's been much better, especially on the road. On the road early in the season, he struggled, but he's been a lot better of late. So I could see definitely him playing a solid game. This has been a strong over series. 5 straight over, 4-1, I should say. 4-1 to the over in the last 5 meetings. I'm going to sprinkle on the over. I don't love it because I could see both goalies are in good form. That's the reason I don't love it. But when it's series history like this, pretty strong, I'll still bet it. But I'll keep it a smaller bet with the over here, 6.5. But I'm on Buffalo here, minus 115. I think it's, again, a very cheap price here for the Sabres tonight in this one. Matt, we'll start with you, Buffalo, Pittsburgh.
I can't bet against Buffalo. I know the series history would tell me to, but I'm going to take a shot with the Sabres. Josh Doan and the boys getting it done in Pittsburgh. So I'll be on Sabres. Nothing crazy because I do agree. Pittsburgh very much could win this game. They've been in good form as well, despite not having Sid the Kid in the lineup. So I'm going to take a shot with Buffalo. And then this game to me is a good opportunity for a same game parlay. 1.5, 5.5. We should be able to get it at plus money. So you got to get the 2 in the first, but then if you get 2 in the first, I feel good that we'll get to 6 total. So both smaller bets, but Sabres money line and a same game parlay on this one.
Yeah, there we go. So like I said, this is a good game, no question. Alex, anything here? Sabres, Penguins.
Yeah, I took a shot with the Sabres. You can still get minus $1.12 at Bet Online. So shop around, you have to get that 15 or 20 necessarily. But this is a spot for Buffalo where you got to step up. ESPN national game. Treat this like a playoff game. And we've seen Buffalo do that. They've been mowing down their opponents and beating some quality teams. And even with Shelov's going for Pittsburgh, I do see that confirmed. Like I said, as well as he's played, I think this is still a Buffalo team that can get things rolling against a Penguins team that's still missing Crosby, and there's still just going to be, I think, this just a gap there. Like I said, we're going to see that as time goes on, that this team without 87 just doesn't have that full firepower, and those spots where it may be a close game and it's tied too late, and you have Crosby, on the bench, you have him making an impact on the ice, he's just not there. Those are spots where I think other teams will be able to capitalize. So give me Buffalo here on the money line.
Peyton Krebs, we're betting that again, as long as he stays up on the top line with Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson, by the way, with goals in back-to-back games for the Buffalo Sabres. Ben Kindle is worth a bet. He scored against Buffalo in that first game. Avery Hayes, I'm going back to the well with my assuming he's in the lineup. Let me just make sure he is, because I know he's been bumped down the lineup a little bit. He's still on the second line with Raquel and Rust. So I like Avery Hayes there. Shinikov is worth a look with Malkin and Novak on the top line. Igor Shinikov, who's been great, obviously, with the Penguins. But for Buffalo, like I said, Peyton Krebs, Jason Zucker, I think might be worth a look because he scored last game for the Buffalo Sabres. And I think he's also had some good success in the past against the Penguins as well. Yeah, as far as head-to-head goal scoring numbers, Zucker's had success against Pittsburgh in the past pretty well. So he'd be someone I'd be interested in as well. Zucker and Krebs are my 2 favorites for the Sabres. Hayes, Kindle, and Shinikov on the Pittsburgh side. Ricard Raquel, 4 goals in 6 games, versus Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well for Pittsburgh. So he's had some success against UPL in the past. All right, Boston, Nashville. Nashville minus 115 home favorite, 6.5 the total. I'm at the point here, Nashville's put up the for sale sign. They've made it official. They're sellers. They're out. They don't think they can make the playoffs, and I agree with them. Especially now with these 3 losses in a row. I don't think they're making the playoffs now, and I think they've come to realize that. Now, everything's on the table for Nashville. We've already seen them deal away Michael McCarron. I think now they put Ryan O'Reilly on IR. And now there's going to be, all kinds of other players possibly move from Nashville between now and the trade deadline. You look at their spot, they're 62 points, set 5 back of the second wild card being held by the Seattle Kraken. So, yes, you could say they're still alive, but it would take a lot for them to get in right now. But the bottom line is Nashville management is treating it like we're sellers. We're not adding. And so for that reason, Nashville 3 losses in a row, and now hearing that the for sale sign's open for Nashville, there's no chance I'm interested in Nashville. I want to bet Boston. I've decided I am going to take Boston here minus 105 tonight, but man, the road record continues to be, it's like a head scratcher. How do you play so well at home at TD Garden and your road record has just been so mediocre? They have won 2 road games. Now, I know there's been the Olympic break where they didn't play for 3 weeks, but do you know that Boston has only won 2 road games since January 1st? Vancouver and Chicago are the teams they beat in those 2 road games. So that's the biggest concern I've got. Like, Nashville is fade material. I don't disagree, but can Boston step up and win a road game, even against someone halfway decent? Because say what you will about Nashville, they're cut above Vancouver's and Chicago's right now a little bit. And those are the only 2 teams on the road Boston has beaten since January 1st. So with some level of concern, I'm still taking the Bruins here. I think you got to win this one here. I mean, you're going to lose on the road forever. Nashville's selling. They're not playing well. Ryan O'Reilly being out now, and there's a huge hole at the center ice spot now for the Nashville Predators tonight and moving forward. So I'm going to take a shot for one night. Boston can win on the road. It's probably because I cashed that best bet with them on Boston against Pittsburgh the other night at home, giving me some kind of confidence to say, hey, let's roll it right back. But I'm telling you what, the road numbers have been ugly. But boy, this is a ripe for the picking spot for the Boston Bruins to get the job done with a Nashville team that has opened the door to any and all potential buyers. Nashville, Alex, what do you think here? Boston, Nashville.
Yeah, I'm going to take a shot with Boston first goal, first period, as well as Nashville on the money line. Get that price at FanDuel plus 125. He said this is a great spot for them to get over their road woes against a team that's waving the white flag. And it's been kind of a weird situation for Nashville these last couple of years, right? This is a team that thought that, we can make some big splash moves in free agency and, maybe be a team that gets in that wild card spot and ruffles things up in the West. It's been anything but for them now. And now to see, Trotz move on, and now for them officially, like I said, kind of waving that white flag, O'Reilly on IR. So just kind of wonder where the momentum goes for Nashville. It just seems to be anywhere but north for them, basically. So Bruins, I got minus $1.04 at FanDuel, $1.05. Shop around, get the best of the price here. But if you can't win here on the road against a team that's basically saying they're giving up, then yeah, you got to really tread lightly and maybe just completely avoid Boston. As like I said, when they're not away
on the road, yes, avoid them. Yeah, and I said that with Jimmy earlier today on his show, which I'm on every Thursday. I said if they don't win tonight, I'm backing them tonight for a very rare instance on the road. If they don't win tonight, you won't see another Bruins ticket in my pocket on the road in a very long time. This is it. This is their one chance to go out there and win a damn road game. Win a damn road game, Bruins. Come on. Nashville's opened up the for sale sign. They're not playing good hockey. They're losing out of the Olympic break. And Korpisalo is a concern. You never know what Korpisalo you're going to get. Are you going to get the good version or are you going to get the bad version? But he has shown some decent play of late. A little better from Korpisalo. So I still think they can get the job done, Bruins, here tonight. Maddie, what do you think here in this one? Boston, Nashville. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I lean Boston here. I know, their road record's been a little concerning, but and I was a little surprised to see Nashville already being sellers. I know they're not officially out. It is going to be a tough road just given their last few games. They needed to come out of the Olympic break hot, so that hasn't happened, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll take a shot here with Boston at this price, just given the form of Nashville. I don't know. I'm conflicted on totals. What Nashville team are we going to see a defeated? We're trading away guys. Nashville team. I could make a case for a same game parlay here, 1.5, 5.5, but there's ones I like more out there. So I think I'll probably just take Boston. Probably not a game I tune into. So probably not a lot of live looks or angles that I'll be prepped for, but we'll see. Maybe if we get a 0-0 first period, then maybe I jump on a live over or something like that. But yeah, pregame just Boston money line for me.
Yeah, Korpisalo, like I said, he is off a good start. Korpisalo. He played well against his old team, Columbus, in the last time we saw him in net. So, yeah, I'm on Boston. I mean, it's just, like I said, I know I have stayed away from them for a very long time on the road, and I've been better off for it. But I think tonight's the night to try to trust this Bruins team to win on the road here against a Nashville team that's opened their doors to selling left and right. And by the way, the Nashville center ice position tonight, Eric Howell is not a number one center. I mean, that's totally absurd that he's playing that number one center spot. That being said, there's probably value with him tonight on the top line center spot with Marchessault and Stamkos from a prop standpoint. But you got Howell, Jost, Svechkov, and Schaefer down the middle. That's pretty weak. If Boston can't beat a team that's rolling that out at center ice, then you got some problems. For Boston props, I like Marat Husnudinov again. He scored last game. Still great value with Lindholm and Pasternak. Middlestat with Zacha, and I like Arvidsson too tonight. This is a good Victor Arvidsson night. Former Predator back in Nashville. Now is, of course, a member of the Bruins. So, like I said, I think Arvidsson prop might be worth a look here as well. All right, Tampa Bay, Winnipeg. Tampa Bay minus 190, road favorites. 5.5 the total here in this game. Is Tampa going to bounce back? I mean, that's the question. 3 straight losses in a row for the Lightning, who had been the hottest team going up until that point, but they've been cooled off with 3 straight losses to Carolina, to Buffalo, and then, of course, to Minnesota on the TNT game the other night, looking to bounce back here against Winnipeg. I think they do. Don't love the price, though. I mean, minus 190. So I've got a little Lightning team total over 3.5. I still don't think the Jets' blue line's very good without Morrissey. Remember, they've still got no Josh Morrissey on the blue line for Winnipeg. And, yeah, you can shut down Chicago and keep them to 2 goals and beat the Blackhawks without Morrissey and without Neil Pionk. And now you got Nemesnikov, who's a guy that can play a decent defensive game at the center spot out. Niederreiter now on IR as well. So, like I said, we got some injuries creeping up for Winnipeg a little bit. That being said, Tampa's got Nick Paul's out, Dominic James out. Looks like Gage Gonsalves is going to be ruled out here. I still think it's a step-up spot for the Lightning. Let's be honest, too. Lightning lost to Carolina, Buffalo, Minnesota. Let's not go crazy, right? 3 damn good hockey teams. Hurricanes, Sabres, and Wild. Let's not go too crazy about what we've seen. And there you go, Jonathan, reinforcing why I think this is the spot for Tampa to bounce back. Winnipeg just 2-7 as a home underdog this season, 5-19 overall as an underdog. And I kind of thought in the back of my mind that Winnipeg had issues as a dog. Yeah, big issues. So I'm going to go team total over 3.5 plus money for the Lightning. Small bet too on the over 5.5. Just because of the fact that I think Lightning are due for an offensive outburst. I know Hellebuck's going to be a net, but like I said, it's a depleted unit on the blue line in front of them, and this could be the night it shows up. Let's not forget, too, Winnipeg did give up goals to San Jose and to Anaheim, after the break, too. So I do think Tampa Bay gets some offense going. 5.5, I like that, and it's just more so because the games in Winnipeg between the Lightning and Jets have heavily trended over the total in recent years. Alex, what do you think here, Tampa Bay, Winnipeg?
Yeah, I'm rolling with the draw still with Winnipeg. I mean, 4 in a row. I grabbed a piece of that at plus 335. Tampa has also kind of struggled in Winnipeg at times. We talked about that, the struggle they've had against the Wild and St. Paul. Usually, oftentimes, they're leaving there or coming back from there and playing Winnipeg, and it hasn't been the smoothest of roads for the Lightning up there either. So this could be a game where, like I said, we've just seen the Lightning kind of going through their struggles. We haven't seen this team struggle much at all this year, and that's with all the injuries and issues we've seen throughout this lineup. And now it seems like Tampa Bay's kind of having their bit of a losing streak. So to say that they will end up losing this game, I don't think so, but I think it's going to be tougher for them. I think it's going to go past 60. So I took a shot with the draw, but I did grab at 5-1 Lightning to win in overtime or shootout over at FanDuel.
There you go. I didn't cry when Michael Misa scored the other night, John, but I was very happy. Obviously, I had the bargain bin special with him, but I don't get that emotional when I win a bet, but to each his own. I was very happy, though. Yeah, no question. Maddie, anything you like here, Tampa Bay, Winnipeg?
Yeah, I like Tampa here, but obviously not at this price. I think they're due to kind of figure it out. I was thinking that they might play well in Minnesota, and then Alex mentioned how they play poorly in Minnesota, and I'm glad he did because he saved me from betting on Tampa, and I ended up winning some money on the Wild that night and the 5-1 win. So definitely trust his judgment. That they've also struggled with Winnipeg. Maybe they're just a team that they get up in that North Central America, and it's just not ideal for them. I can't think of many places more different than Tampa Bay, Florida than Winnipeg, Manitoba. So it might just be a comfort thing. I do still think they're due to kind of figure it out. So what I might do is I might take a small shot on Tampa parlayed, Tampa money line, so it can be an overtime win if it has to be, parlayed with the over 5.5. I'm seeing that at plus 150. I think that's a good angle. You know, it's a good if they figure it out, I think this game gets to 6 goals, no problem, and I think Tampa gets it done. So I could see, a 4-2, a 5-2 type game if Tampa can finally figure it out and get back on track. Which is funny to say about a team, that's still a top 4, top 5 team in the league, but they have struggled, especially since the Olympic break. So I expect them to figure it out at some point. Definitely not worth taking them at minus 190, but I think for a couple bucks, I might throw Tampa and that over parlay plus 150 on this one.
Morgan Barron, I don't know why, but he has crazy good numbers scoring against Tampa for some reason. So I'm going to stat just a little sprinkle on Morgan Barron because you can get a crazy 11-1 with him to find the back of the net here tonight, 10-1 to 11-1 in some spots. That's just based only because of that. Even though he is on the fourth line. Perfetti, I think, actually might be worth a look for the Jets. And then for Tampa Bay, I'm going back to the well. This tells you how good the bargain bin reads have been, even on the ones that don't win. Oliver Bjorkstrand against Minnesota the other night. Do you know how many chances that guy had? I mean, he got stoned a couple of times in that game. He had a couple of just unbelievable chances to find the back of the net, and that was a bargain bin for me that night with Oliver Bjorkstrand against Minnesota. I'm going back to the well with Bjorkstrand. He's still on the top line tonight, or is expected to be, with Braden Point and Jake Gensel. So he's still up in on the spot you want him at, top line. He had a bunch of chances the other night. Let's say he generates some chances tonight. He's probably got a chance to finally find the back of the net with one of those chances. Plus 340 for Oliver Bjorkstrand for Tampa Bay to find the back of the net. That prop I like quite a bit. All right, all-Canadian matchup next up, Ottawa and Calgary. We've got Ottawa minus 170, road favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5 across the board in this game. I don't know. I'm not a big advanced, I'm not a huge expected goals against, expected goals for type of person compared to some other people. But I have noticed with Calgary, their expected goals against numbers have gone way down as far as they're getting worse defensively. They're giving up more chances. They're giving up more great looks, more great shots, more great opportunities. And you're starting to see that, too, in what the other teams are doing against Calgary offensively. Look at what Dallas did the other night. 6 goals against this Calgary team. And this traces back to them trading Rasmus Andersson. And it's really gotten only worse for them. Like, they're just spending way more time in their own zone. They're getting hemmed in. They're giving up more chances. It's becoming tougher on both goaltenders, Dustin Wolf, and tonight's starter, Devin Cooley, who will be in net for the Calgary Flames. And teams that are going to control the flow against Calgary are teams that are probably going to have issues, or is where Calgary's going to have issues. And the one thing about Ottawa, prior to the Edmonton game, I know Edmonton did outshoot them 37-21, but Edmonton carried the play once they were trailing in that game. But before that, Ottawa's really controlled the flow against pretty much every opponent they've played. I don't know how much Calgary's going to have the puck tonight in this game against Ottawa. Ottawa's been so good at controlling the play and having the puck on their stick for the majority of the game. So I'm going to go with a couple of bets here. I actually like Ottawa first goal, first period. Ottawa first period puck line as well, minus the half. We haven't made those kind of bets a lot of late, but I think they get on the board early. The first period puck line is plus 150 for the Ottawa Senators. I like Ottawa's team total over 3.5, plus 120. And at 5.5, I'm going to take the full game over in this game because I just think Calgary is a bit of a mess defensively. You can hem them in, you can cave them in, you can forecheck them to death. And I think that's exactly what Ottawa's going to do tonight. They're going to have the puck most of the night. They're going to wear down this Calgary blue line, which is thin, which was not great already. And then, of course, they traded away Rasmus Andersson. And Uyghur's now out of there. And now you've got Ball, Whitecloud, Kuznetsov. Zane Parek's going to be good, but he's still young. Joel Hanley and Braden Pahal. That's a weak group. Let's be honest. It's a very weak blue line. So Ottawa first period puck line split with Ottawa first goal first period at a plus price. Ottawa team total over 3.5. Bounce back after the Edmonton collapse, and then of course the over 5.5 as well. I don't even hate the first period over either, so I might turn it into a bifecta. Alex, what do you think here? Ottawa, Calgary.
Yeah, the only thing I came to was Senators team total over 3.5. Got plus 110, which is still widely available. It's interesting how these have been kind of close meetings with these two teams. We've seen a lot of overtime, especially with Ottawa of late. But like I said, this seems to be a one-sided kind of affair lined up. I'm still not going to be taking Ottawa on that regulation money line, even at $1.15. I'm just going to play it safe because of that history and just go with that team total over 3.5. Like I said, it should be mostly Sens with the puck possession, and 4 goals should not be that hard, even against Dustin Wolf.
Yeah, and again, Devin Cooley. Now the losses are starting to mount all of a sudden for Devin. His numbers actually are still pretty solid, but like I said, it's now he's getting more time, and the defense is weaker in front of him. The losses are starting to mount for Devin Cooley. Like I said, the overall numbers are good, but you can tell his play has gone down because the blue line is just weaker in front of him, and I think that decline is going to continue. And look, I give him all the credit. He's had a really good season, but when you're playing against this, no-name brand blue line now with no Uyghur traded away, no Anderson traded away, and like I said, I love Zane Parekh. He's going to be a good player on that blue line. He was great at the World Juniors for Canada. He's still young, and he's playing minutes that, is he ready for it? And he can still make some big gaffes defensively. He even did that at the World Juniors. He was scoring in bunches for Canada, but man, he was making some gaffes defensively too in that World Junior tournament, Parekh. So he's a bit of a high-risk defenseman at this stage of his career. Good offensively, skates the puck well, can shoot it, but boy, he can make some mistakes in the defensive zone. What do you think here, Matt? Ottawa, Calgary.
Yeah, I'm on the Ottawa team total as well. I just think Calgary's deflated. What's that?
No, go ahead. I was just saying he's thinking about it. Yeah.
No, I was just checking what I had written down, but yeah, team total and then over 5.5 as well. This seems like one of those games that at first glance you're like 5.5, but are these teams really going to put up a big scoring affair? And I feel like this will soar over 5.5. I could see like a 5-3 game, 5-4 game. Both teams just sort of in a track meet. So that's the way I'll play it. But yeah, I think that's it for me on this game.
All right, good stuff indeed. Like I said, Ottawa, and this is important for Ottawa. There's still, just a small glimmer as far as the playoffs. You lose tonight, it's going to make it a lot harder. Got to get 2 points here out of this game if you're the Ottawa Senators here tonight. For props here tonight, I look at the Calgary lineup going into this game. Connor Zary on the top line. If I were to look at someone for Calgary, Connor Zary's on the top line. I think there's some pretty good value. Batherson's been good lately for the Ottawa Senators, as far as offensively chipping in for them. Pretty consistent rate. 2 straight games with a goal for him. Dylan Cousins, 2 straight games with a goal. I do like that for the Ottawa Senators as well. Michael Amadio scored last game, so maybe in that direction as well. So those are some props for me in this Sens Flames game. All right, next up. No, I get it. It's a big price with Ottawa, and Calgary does play hard. They don't always play well, and like I say, I'm worried about other defenses getting caved in right now, but there is a case to be made for Calgary. It's a big price. They have had some success against Ottawa in the past, but you have to remember, a lot of these past Ottawa-Calgary games, Calgary was in a better position than now. They were in a playoff spot or battling for playoffs. Now they've traded away 2 of their best defensemen. You're seeing their overall level of play trend downward. It's just a different situation compared to those recent Ottawa-Calgary meetings. That's why I personally take those with a grain of salt that Ottawa's had some difficulties here at times in the past. All right, last game, New York Islanders, Los Angeles Kings. We've got LA minus 130, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. This kind of feels like a shoe on the other foot game. The Islanders faced a very angry Ducks team, a Ducks team that was ready to play last night after losing to Colorado 5-1. And then I think when you look at that result, Anaheim was ready last night. Now, look, it's not like the Islanders were shut down completely. The Islanders had a ton of chances, 40-plus shots. Billy Husso was outstanding in net for Anaheim, so we can't act like Anaheim was phenomenal in that game, but they did what they had to do. They were opportunistic. Once again, Big Civ Dave. He's back to Big Civ Dave again. Not good enough again last night for the New York Islanders in net. But this kind of feels like last night where I was a lot of people like the Islanders. I said this Anaheim team's always shown a bounce back ability in them. And I wouldn't rule that out tonight. And now it's the shoe on the other foot. Now the Islanders are in bounce back mode. And now they've got, of course, they saved Ilya Sorokin in net for this game against the LA Kings. And this is one situation where I know the coach bump. We usually ride that team, and I did for one night for LA, and they lost to Colorado. I think this is tough. I think the Islanders are going to play well. And the problem is DJ Smith's going to insist on up and down, be more aggressive, get the defensemen involved in the play offensively in the rush, and then they're leaving themselves way too exposed. I mean, they were playing this up and down track meet hockey against Colorado, who can burn you, can kill you playing that way. I mean, the transition defense stinks right now for LA. It's terrible. They're getting caught up ice, odd man rushes galore. How many 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s have the LA Kings given up in recent games? And this goes back to before they fired Jim Hiller. They've had problems in their own end for a while. LA, and I think the Islanders may be able to make them pay for it. We don't know who's in net yet for the Kings tonight. Kemper might return. He's been out the last couple. If it's not, they'll go back to Anton Forsberg, who actually did play well in the losing effort against Colorado. But do you trust him to play that way again? That remains to be seen. Sorokin in net for the Islanders. This is the spot where I like the Islanders a little bit here. So I did a plus 110 money line split with team total, cheap team total for the Islanders. Over 2.5 at minus 114. Really cheap number, really cheap price with that. I also like this over by Facta here. First period, full game over. I'm going to stand by what I said. Overs with the LA Kings if they're going to play this pace, because they're going to obviously push to score. And because they're pushing to score with the problems on the defense right now, with the injuries up front as well, Byfield's still out, Fiala, Armia, Kuzmenko. Don't forget how good defensively Armia is for this hockey team as well. That they're just going to, if they're going to play this way, they're going to give up chances to the other team. That's all there is to it, just like we saw against Colorado. And tonight, let's be honest, the Islanders are going to get grade A chances like last night. The Puck's going to have a better chance to go in tonight, in my opinion, for them. So I've got Islanders money line team total over 2.5 split and over by Facta here. Alex, what do you think? Islanders, Kings.
This is a weight game for me as well. Lean with Islanders, of course, being the better team. And like I said, in a spot, second night back-to-back, saving their better goalie. It will be Kemper. I'm seeing that confirmed for LA. And obviously not liking the price of laying anything with LA, even with the new coaching bump. But this is one where I'm going to try and wait and grab better prices for the over by Facta. And I can see where maybe the Kings jump out and have some pace early like we saw before. This is a bit of a step down when you're talking about compared to Colorado. So maybe we get a chance where we can get a Kings goal and you can get Islanders plus 130, plus 140 live and then grab that. But I do like more of the totals over by Facta's in game.
All right, there we go. Good stuff there for Alex in this one. Prop-wise, I'm seeing the lineups right now. Panarin, Kopitar, Kempe, Moore, Turcotte, Laferriere. Trevor Moore looks like he's playing. He's also been someone that's been a little bit banged up late. It was an illness, actually, the other night. Kept him out of the Colorado game, but he's back tonight. So at least they have Trevor Moore back in the lineup. Looks like Kenny Connors is in still. Taylor Ward. I don't see our guy Angus Booth right now. I don't think he's in at the moment. I don't think they have him in right now for the LA Kings. So it might have just been a one and done for him playing the other night. He gets his first NHL goal the other night and not even in the lineup. It looks, at least as of now, it doesn't look like he's in the lineup for the Kings tonight. Matt, what do you think here? Islanders, Kings.
I'm going to sound like a broken record to you, Ian, but I'm on the exact same 4 bets. The Islanders money line, Islanders team total, first period and full game over. I know they got beat pretty bad last night, but outshot Anaheim 2-1.
Yeah.
And I just think, to your point, new coach in LA, they're playing a little more loosey-goosey, which should help them score a goal or two more than they had been. But they're also giving up a lot of chances, and Islanders coming off a 5-1 loss, I feel like they'll, want to bring it. So I almost feel like the odds are a little backwards on this one. Maybe not quite as aggressive, but I could have seen this being a minus 110 both ways. So I'll take the plus money on the Islanders and the cheap price on over 2.5. And then I'll be on the first period and full game over.
All right, good stuff. I like it. Yeah, I think we get this game up and over the total. And I think because of LA being involved, you're going to continue to see 5.5s. And like I said, they're not playing an under 5.5 pace, LA, if it's anything like what I saw against Colorado, because that was an up and down affair for much of that game. And boy, oh boy, I know the Islanders aren't the Avs, but the Islanders do have more offensive game breakers than we've seen back to the Barry Trotz years. I mean, they've got more offensive weapons now. And last night they didn't put the puck in, but they got 40 shots. They just ran into just a ridiculously unconscious, Billy Husso last night in that game for the Anaheim Ducks. So I think there's a better chance here for both of these teams to end up finding the back of the net, but especially the Islanders, coming off that frustrating 40-plus shots game against Anaheim last night where they only scored 1 goal. I got to bet Anders Lee again. I just have to. I mean, he just keeps on scoring for the New York Islanders. It's now a 4-game goal scoring streak for him. The price is still fantastic, a plus 370 in that range for Anders Lee, the captain of the New York Islanders. I'd also look toward probably, Holmstrom. Look toward maybe, like I said, Matthew Schaefer too. I think this could be a night where, you're coming off a loss. You only scored 1 goal. Don't be surprised if he makes an impact. These are usually the spots where Matthew Schaefer steps up and rips a goal for you for the New York Islanders. So I could see that being the case as well. I think Trevor Moore back in the lineup. I'd take maybe a shot with him to maybe get on the board for the LA Kings here in this one. Great show. Great stuff as always. And like I said, Matt said he's on the same stuff as me for the Kings and the Islanders. The funny thing about that is we don't say shit to each other before we do these shows, honestly. And Alex and Matt will say the same thing. We just come on here, we meet, and we do the show. We don't really discuss what we're on too much, not the full card. We don't say, well, we like this, and this. So it's just like I said, happenstance, and hopefully it's a case of great minds think alike when it comes to the Islanders and the Kings. Great show. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. Great time of year. College basketball, all the tournament action, conference tournaments now. It'll be the NCAA tournament in a couple weeks. Because of the great college basketball run that I've been on, I'm now number 1. I've taken the first place spot in college basketball at wizardsportspicks.com, in addition to being number 1 in the NHL. So make sure you check it out. NBA's been profitable as well. Beyond the Lines videos, Matt Tuesdays. I do them Fridays, Sundays. Check those out as well. Daily premium picks, long-term subscription passes available. Get on board, wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. And like I said, great value. The Patreon cards have been doing very well post-Olympic break. Make sure you get on board. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long-term. So get on board, $10 per month over at patreon.com/iceguys.
And also check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Today starts the first of 4 days where you can save 25% off all items in the store. Just hit that redeem button at the home page, add your items to checkout, and 25% will be taken off at your checkout. So this is a great time to get on, get at the store, get a new hoodie, get a new t-shirt, caps. We've got all kinds of great designs and great prices as well. You can save 25% off of those great prices for the next 4 days. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, the red hot, and you know it if you've been watching this show, the red hot bargain bin special of the night segment coming up in just a moment, along with best bets, right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Please for yourself with my mouth is no one.
All right. It is the red hot. It's maybe one of the hottest betting segments on the planet right now. It's got to be with the way it's been cooking here post-Olympic break. The bargain bin special of the night, 2-0 sweep for me with the bargain bin special last night. 2 bargain bin special winners on one night with Robert Thomas and Anders Lee. We'll see if we can add to it here tonight. Alex, we'll start with you, bargain bin special of the night.
Yeah, let's head on down to the Music City. You got Boston taking on Nashville, and second line player. We've cashed with him before. I like his price. He's at plus 440 anytime goal scorer over at FanDuel. That'd be one Casey Middlestat of the Boston Bruins anytime goal scorer. That'll be my one and only bargain bin special for tonight.
Oh, the one and only. Good stuff. Casey Middlestat for the Boston Bruins for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. Matt, what do you got for bargain bin special of the night? And he had Sam Steele the last time we saw him, plus 500 for the Dallas Stars. See what he's got for an encore.
Yep, on a little 2-game heater because Friday I had the Logan Cooley first goal plus 1,600. So because I'm on a two bargain bin heater, I'm gonna have 2 plays tonight. One can be expected. I like Buffalo tonight in Pittsburgh, so we're going to go with a little Josh Stone anytime goal. He's right on the cusp. I found him at plus 305 at Underdog Fantasy, so a lot of books have him right at like plus 290, but since there's a plus 300 out there, I'll count it as one of my bargain bins tonight. Look for him to get back on track and start pocketing some goals. So that is bargain bin number 1. Bargain bin number 2, we're going to go out to Columbus, where Columbus is hosting the Florida Panthers. And this is a guy that spent some time in Florida. You always have to look at the past team angle. You know, did he get treated as well as he could have? He spent a lot of time on the fourth line his couple years there. It's on the first line in power play 1 for Columbus. Give me Mason Marchment 2 or more points tonight, plus 360. That'll be bargain bin number 2.
There we go. And don't forget, make sure you bet those. Matt's on a 2-game, whatever you want to call it, bargain bin special streak. And there's his 2 for tonight with bargain bin special of the night. I got 2 as well, and I've got 2 that I've actually gone with recently. One I've cashed with recently, the other I haven't. But I'm going back to Oliver Bjorkstrand. I don't normally go back to someone I used in their previous game, but that guy had at least a couple or 3 great chances against Minnesota the other night. And if he gets those chances again, I think there's a chance we can see him find the back of the net tonight for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who I expect to bring a good effort here tonight on a 3-game losing streak in Winnipeg. So Oliver Bjorkstrand, Tampa Bay, plus 340 for my first bargain bin special of the night. And my second one, we're going back to El Capitan of the New York Islanders once again. How can I not? 4 straight games with a goal for Anders Lee. We've been on him twice during this run for bargain bin special. Let's see if we can hit lightning in a bottle again with Anders Lee tonight. Plus 370 for the New York Islanders. So there you go. And Oliver Bjorkstrand, Tampa Bay, plus 340. Anders Lee, New York Islanders, plus 370 for my 2 bargain bin specials of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, let's go with that Buffalo-Pittsburgh game, ESPN, national TV. And this is a spot where Buffalo can continue their role of being one of the hot teams in the Eastern Conference, get a nice win on national TV. Give me the Sabres here. You can get minus $1.12, cheapest price available offshore at BetOnline. That's my best bet for tonight. Buffalo Sabres on the money line.
Buffalo minus 110 or so against Pittsburgh. Best bet for Alex B. Smith for this Thursday. Matt, what do you got for best bet?
Best bet, we're going to go out to the Nashville game. Nashville hosting the Boston Bruins. Give me Boston on the money line. They're 4-1 in their last 5 games in Nashville. Most recently losing 4-0, but prior to that, they won 3-0, 5-0, 2-0, and 6-2. So definitely comfortable playing in Nashville. I think they're a team in much better form, and Nashville's selling off. So give me Boston money line. That'll be my best bet tonight.
All right, Boston money line for Matt Robinson with best bet. I'm going to that late game, Islanders, Kings, over 5.5. Even minus 110s are still out there on this, very cheap. I think the Islanders will score a bunch. I think the Kings will chip in as well. And like I said, if the Kings' pace stays the same as we saw against Colorado, then 5.5s are going to look awfully light for their totals with the way they were going up and down with that track meet pace against Colorado. Islanders, Kings, over 5.5, minus 110 for my best bet. Shout out to everyone in the chat at the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, looking forward to the card tonight, and hope you guys cash in. And we all have a great, profitable night as well. It's been a great run since the break. Hopefully it continues. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we're back Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.